Hello, everybody, and welcome to this new episode of Gaming Sales Heroes video interviews. I'm very happy today to be here with Alejandro Serrano, COO of Tecnalis. Bienvenido, Alejandro. Good morning.
Bienvenido. How are you, Domenico?
Everything
It's
is
a pleasure.
okay. It's a very pleasure for me to have you here today, and I would like to start asking you if you can a little bit introduce yourself to see for the people that don't know you already
Uh-huh.
to get to know you better.
Yeah, of course. Well, as Domenico said, my name is Alejandro. I work as the Chief Operation Officer of Tecnalis, one of the leading e-gaming platforms in Spain and Latin America. And I love this industry. It's one of my passions. So I consider it part of my daily life. And and yeah, I'm passionate about what is going on in the industry. Every day, I have a lot of colleagues like Domenico, where we talk about the industry and the challenge, what's gonna happen in the next years, because the industry it's turning regulated in many countries, and it's turning very very interesting. So yeah.
Very good. Actually, you gave me an interesting point because, okay, at the moment you're covering the COO role, but we
Uh-huh.
discussed also about sales. So, can you please give us a little bit how did you start your career in sales and why you are still managing some part of the sales? Why you like sales?
Okay, yeah, of course. Well, I studied law and economics when I was at the university, but technology for me was always had always my interest, right? So I started creating the small businesses, technological businesses. Also, I was working for legal bureaus and politics and all that stuff. Uh, but then I found the perfect job for me at Tecnalis as a project manager. After a few months being a project manager in the company at that time, I noticed that I had a natural talent for sales, and I really enjoy it. So I started working in sales, also managing part of the operational team, because I think it's very important to be connected with the team, not being only an independent side of the company as a sales. So I want to be involved in the operations also. I want to be involved on what I negotiate with the clients. So I assure that whatever I said during the sales process or during the negotiation process is what is going to happen in the real operation. So yeah, I have high hopes will become one of the top gaming management platforms in the world, and we want to give like a natural and a family approach to the clients. So it's something that it makes a difference, no? When you treat
Yes.
them like a part of your team, not just providing them a product or a software and uh, sale my part and then forget it and looking
No,
for
this will
yeah,
never work as a model. In general,
exactly,
you must assure that you follow up with the customers and
exactly,
you make sure
exactly,
that
exactly,
whatever you have promised them, you deliver, because then
exactly,
this is what it's about at the end.
exactly,
So
exactly.
I'm a little bit curious, okay, because you're moving from, let's say, sales to operation project manager. I have an interesting question for you then. What is then your most challenging tasks that
Hmm.
you find while working on, let's say, your daily basis, on your daily activities?
Hmm. Well, the most challenging thing for me on a daily basis, it's keeping on the top of everything, I would say. With so many new clients that have signed it up, and many more that are in the process of signing up, there is constantly something urgent that needs my attention. So all my clients are important for me, and I wake up early, very early in the morning, and I try to resolve any big problems early in the day, so they can I can plan other tasks for me for the future later on in the day. So when I do what I do, it's waking up very early, and I resolve the main important tasks for the clients, and then later on in the day I try to resolve other future
Well,
plans for the company.
it's an interesting approach. I mean, you split basically your day in two. When the
Exactly.
first part is about helping the existing customers, or let's say the latest ones, and in the afternoon or maybe later on to work on, let's say, developing more the business, finding
Exactly.
new
I think
customers.
I think it's very important to how to say focus. I don't focus myself more than 3 tasks in a day, because I really want to focus on that. So I said to the team that if it's not something very urgent, they I ask them to send me an email, so I can reply early in the morning in the next day, right?
Hmm.
So I can focus in the 3 tasks that I wanted to do that specific day. That's very important, because I found before in my life that I was constantly changing the task and constantly checking the WhatsApp, the Skype, the email, then changing to another topic, and then I was like, I'm not focused on what I'm doing. And it is very important that we have, like, we need time to reflect and to think about things, just uh, for a moment, close our eyes and think, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? Why it's this important? We need time for that. We cannot be constantly going from one task to another, no?
Yes, I totally agree, especially if you have, let's say, an important role when your tasks are not only really to do things, but are also about thinking about how these things can be done or can be improved or can be moved to a different approach. So I totally agree with you,
Yeah,
Alejandro.
I had a boss that in my in my past life, that he was saying, I'm going to my bureau, and I'm going just to think. I need time to think, right? And he was going there, and when you could see him from outside, and he was like having a nap, because he had his eyes
Uh-huh.
closed, and but he was saying, no, I'm thinking about what we're going to do, the plans in the future, whatever. And for me, that was very good advice, because sometimes we're constantly eager to, I need to reply to this guy, I need to call this person, I
Yes.
need to, even with our personal tasks, like we mix everything together, and in the end it's when we have anxiety, and we sometimes we reply not nice to people, and for me it works at the moment.
Okay. No, no, it's an interesting point that I'm sure that our listeners will appreciate that. Then, okay, I'm sure we have been through together to some of them, but if I have to ask you, what was the most challenging negotiation that you handled? What was,
Well,
of course, it's up to you to decide what to disclose, and what will really interesting for me is how you managed to
yeah.
get that deal.
Well, if I'm honest with you, the most complicated negotiations in my daily life are with my wife. Uh,
No, but I'm by default excluding all of them because they cannot count. They are so
exactly,
difficult
exactly.
anyway.
That's the like on top of the top, right?
Yes.
But no, seriously, the most challenging negotiations that I have been during this COVID pandemic, because I'm a person who likes to deal with client face to face. Like uh,
Yes.
as everything has moved online, I find that you don't have that deep personal contact with the clients, and for me, it has been difficult at some point because we have been negotiating operations completely online. Um, and I think it puts an extra factor in the negotiation process that is difficult to overcome, right? Sometimes, but I think we did it. We did it as best as we could, and it's other experience, no?
Well, it's true. I have an example with actually a customer that is going live this week, that it took me 2 more months
Yeah.
to complete all the process, because of course you need to gain their trust in a different way, and this anyway takes more time if it's not in person. So
Exactly. No, and if I'm honest with you, I like to know the clients from another perspective, right? To
yes.
have with them a meal, or to have a coffee, or just to know them in person, to touch them. And as an Spaniard that I am, I like to touch people and I like to talk with them, and
Well,
I
we
like
are we are both
yeah,
Mediterraneans,
exactly.
so
So I
it's in
like to
our
talk to them.
DNA. Yes.
Exactly, face to face. And sometimes I like to explain them. I have in my my bureau, I have like a big board where I explain to them with graphics how we're going to do this or that. And online it turned a little bit difficult, no?
Yes.
Because you don't have that approach, and you cannot see to like look at the eyes and check if they're understanding or not. It was a
Correct.
little bit more difficult.
I agree. I agree. No, totally. Yes. I mean, this was probably one of the most challenging things that we had to face as a salespersons in during the last year, let's say.
Totally,
So
totally,
then
totally.
I'm curious about the next point, because I also saw a post that you published on LinkedIn some time ago about some interesting books about gaming. So the question
Yeah.
is, do you like to read sales books? And if yes, is there any title that you would like to suggest to us?
Well, I love to read. If you see my house, it's full of books everywhere.
Yes.
I like to read about history, politics, philosophy, physics. Like I love to read. It's one of my passions. But of course, I read about business books and sales books. And there, I would say three at the moment that impressed me a lot in the last 2 years. One is maybe you have known them, Story Brand by Donald Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Miller in this book explains that every successful business needs to make your customer the hero of the story, and you need to create a story for them and
Mm-hmm.
explain the business as it was like a tale or
A journey,
yeah,
yes.
exactly. And it's very interesting. I highly recommend it. Another book that impressed me, not because it was something very well written or something like that. It was because when I first wrote it, I said it's so true. It's Blue Ocean Strategy by Camp Team. It's a team, I think, at the University of Pennsylvania, if I'm not wrong. And this book, it's about how to create and capturing uncontested markets space where there is no competition, or the competition is relevant. So basically, to give you an example, we normally try to compete in markets where they call in the book a red ocean, where
Mm-hmm.
there are hundreds of sharks competing each other for fish, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there are blue markets where there are no one, or there's just two or three sharks having thousands of fish for them, and these ones are competing for small piece of the cake. And in this one, there are a lot of things to do, and nobody realized that there is this blue ocean uh,
Yes.
full of fish. No,
I
and
think I have this book on my shopping list and on Amazon. Unfortunately, I have, I think, other hundreds of books that
yeah,
it will take my whole life to, because
exactly.
my problem is I love to read books and I
Yeah.
read a lot of them.
Uh-huh.
And when I start reading books, usually there are some references to other
Uh-huh.
books So immediately the first thing I do is that every time I read one book and there is a reference, I check it on Amazon and I add that book to my shopping list. So for every book I read, I gain more, let's say 4 or 5 more books to to read next
Yeah,
time, and
it happens. It
it will
happens to
be a
me.
never-ending
The
story.
same. Yeah. Even in the past, I've tried to learn some techniques on how to learn faster, but it needs a lot of training. And finally, I said, no, I'm gonna read as a like
Yeah,
as
a
a
normal
or
person.
something. Yeah,
Yes, yes,
exactly. No,
yes.
because I don't want to be like.
Okay.
But it's and the third book, I would say, that impressed me a lot because it gives me a lot of advice that for me were very interesting. It's I think in English it's called Influence or Persuasion, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I read it in Spanish, but it's the classic book of persuasion and explains the psychology of why people say yes and how to apply their like these understandings, right? So it works a lot on the psychology. In the end, sales and marketing has to be a lot with psychology and understand the human brain and how it works and
Yes.
why sometimes we say yes and why we do, we don't we want to say yes but we don't know how to say it. Like there are many connections over there, and for me it's very interesting, the human psychology. So
Yes.
yeah, it was a very interesting book. I can tell you many more, but I
Yeah,
think
well, yes, I will be curious because my list is already
yeah,
very
yeah,
full, but I'm always happy to increase them, to increase it
yeah,
more.
yeah.
So, Alejandro, jumping to the last question, I would like to ask you: is there any sales tip that you would like to share with our iGaming sales heroes today?
Well, my tips are obvious. I'm not gonna invent the wheel, no. But I will say first, the importance of support and give a comprehensive service. I will say that this is very important. Like to be um, understandable, close to your client, approachable, right? Always uh, help your clients to generate value. So I don't only sell a product included with the service. I always try to explain to them um, how they can make a competitive advantage in the market they're working. So I would say if you do this or if you do that, you maybe can do that or do this. Sometimes the clients know hundred thousand
Well,
miles more than me.
at the end of the day, we don't sell products; we create values. This is
Exactly. So
when a sales then works.
exactly. So uh, we have different typologies of clients, but some clients likes to hear our advice, no? And I want from a very honest perception. I want to give them how I see the market in that moment, in that specific market, and how can I help them to create a competitive advantage, I would say. So that would be my second tip.
Mm-hmm.
And my third tip, and I think it's very important, it's always being one step ahead. Why? Because there's so many things that if you don't think in advance, are gonna happen, and you can be one step ahead thinking, okay, I know that if we do this, in the end this client are going to ask our team how this works. So why we don't, instead of waiting for the client to call me to ask me, Alex, please can you help me with this, being one step ahead and say, look, we released this software
Functionality, yes,
and I'm going
whatever.
to explain you how it works, no? Instead of being reactive, being proactive, no?
Yes,
I think
yes.
it's very important also.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. Actually, I think you gave a very interesting tip for the people here today. So I really would like to thank you once again, Alejandro, for your time here. It was a real pleasure and a very nice discussion. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to us today, and follow us on our social media if you didn't do it yet. And we speak again.
Thank you, Domenico. Ciao, ciao. Bye, bye.
Bye bye.